So I can share it with you later. Okay, we're going to switch over live and it goes pretty fast. So be ready because it's always live before I think it is. We are going live.
Hey.
I'm excited. Okay, and we are live.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Okay. Welcome to this week's Conversations with Queens. I am Laura Swan. I'm the current Mrs. USA World. I started Conversations with Queens because I've met the most amazing women through my pageantry journey. We have the most amazing, life-changing conversations talking about real things. We are real women with real lives, real kids, real families, real jobs, real everything that everybody's going through. But this journey of pageantry has been such a wonderful growth place for myself and for many sister queens like the one we're going to talk to today. And I felt compelled to share that. My platform is Women Uniting Women. It's what I do. It's bringing together women that are like-minded to inspire other women through our own passions and purpose. And so without further ado, I definitely want to get straight to talking to my very special guest today, which is Amy Royster, the newly crowned Mrs. Indiana America. Woo! And you're cheering.
Yes.
So, Amy, I know we have so much to talk about.
I know.
Where to start? Well, how did you just briefly, how did you get started in pageantry? And then we'll fast forward to where you are today and that journey.
Sure. Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Laura. You're one of my dear friends, and I'm so excited to be on to this week's episode. But I got my start in pageantry later. I'm in my 30s, and I would say, though I did a couple pageants when I was 18, 20, different things, nothing major. I started doing Mrs. Pageantry 3 years ago, and I entered my first pageant as a Mrs. Indiana. I competed in 2019, and that was what I consider my first real go at it. And I placed second runner-up my first try. And that was incredible, and I got bit by the bug for sure. I saw how valuable it was to share my platform and the people that I was meeting. I mean, my relationships with other women, it just tripled, tenfold, really, honestly. I didn't have a very close-knit circle of friends going into it, but now 3 years down the road, oh my goodness, my circle is vast and powerful. And I would say, just right off the jump, number one thing I've gained from this pageantry experience is the relationships with other like-minded women, incredible, empowering, just supportive people. So yeah, I started in 2019 and I competed again in 2020 for the same title. And then I competed at Mrs. United States under the title of Mrs. Illinois, which is where I met Laura. Yeah. And a bunch of other amazing people. And then I competed this year for the title of Mrs. Indiana America, and finally got my title, got my crown. It's the one I wanted.
So I want to just pause and recap what you said there. So you competed 3 times for Mrs. Indiana America. And so tell us all, how is that journey, and what kept you coming back? And mostly, I know we want to talk about this, like what was different this year for you?
Well, it's been people who follow me know it's been a grueling road for me, because I just felt it in my bones that this was my path. I felt it, that it was my destiny to have the title of Mrs. Indiana, and that I'm supposed to go and I'm supposed to do great things with it. I just felt it. And I took a risk and I entered my first year, and I did not expect to win, because going in, you know, when you're a first year, you know all the things you don't know. You can tell that there's a lot that you don't know about going. It's not about putting on a dress and standing up there. It's not about any of that. And when you enter your first pageant, you see all the things that you don't know, right? And so I left that year, and I was so happy with my second runner-up placement. And I went and I worked what I thought was harder than I've ever worked, that it was as hard as I could work to be prepared for the next year. And I felt it, that it was for me. And I went and I got second runner up again. I tied for first. There was a three-way tie. And then after onstage question, I ended up as second runner up. And I was devastated. I had worked and worked and worked and worked my butt off. And I felt ready. And I went and I was told, it's just not your, you know, you get the, it's just not your year. It's not your time. When it's your time, it will just happen. And I was so frustrated. Anybody that said that to me, I wanted to throw a shoe at them. I'm like, but why is it not my time? It feels like my time. I'm ready. So what I did was, after I got over myself, you know, you complain and you cry and you emote to your family, but then what separates you, the girls from the women, so to speak, is what you do next. So instead of sulking, I took a good look at myself and I got over myself and I said, well, if you really want this, then you need to dig deep and you need to be honest with yourself and understand that there's something you need to learn from this. Your journey isn't done. You need to really evaluate who you are and what you want. And if you really want it, then you won't let the word no stop you. So I bought my way into a national pageant for the Mrs. United States system for the sole purpose of experience and practice. And I just really wanted to elevate myself. I knew that if I could get out of my own head and go and just have a positive experience where I wasn't trying to control everything, I wasn't clenching it with an iron fist because I wanted it so bad. I knew I wouldn't win a national pageant just, you know, off the street basically. But I went and I left it all out on the field. And I met the most incredible women, you being one of them. And I placed top 10. It shocked myself. And that was an important piece of that journey. I didn't let a couple no's dissuade me from my path. And I felt that after competing at Mrs. United States and just going and opening my heart and not trying to control everything, I was able to go into Mrs. Indiana this year and feel so comfortable in my own skin with my own story and my own abilities, and just be able to just not try and control the narrative so hard that it made me seem stiff. Because I feel like in the past, what stopped me from winning, other than it just truly not being my time, my journey wasn't done yet. There were other things I needed to do. There was people I needed to meet. There were, fundraisers I needed to do. Sorry.
So this is what we mean. It is real life. We are real moms. We are real. I was just saying, this is real. This is real life. This is what our life is.
Oh my goodness. I'm lucky I've not been interrupted 5 times already. I have, for those of you who don't know, I have 6 kids here in this house right now. So I'm like off to the side, like, don't pat me, I'm not alive. And then this guy, he will bark at anything. I'll just bring him with me.
No.
But anyway, to summarize, I felt that going into this year, what was different was that I was so much more relaxed and at ease and confident in my own ability. After I had these experiences and met all of these incredible women who just empowered me and validated me and told me, you're fine the way you are. Who you are right now and the way that you've grown is incredible. And you can go in there and be your true, authentic self. That is just fine for, I think we get it in our heads that we need to change, and we start looking at, well, maybe if I take a different platform, or I wear a different dress, or I change my hair color, then maybe the judges will like me. But it's not about that. I could have shown up with purple hair this year and it would have been mine still, because it was my year.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because I feel like people are listening and they're doing the same thing like you did when people told you that. Like, what does your year mean?
Yes.
I know,
I hate that.
and I know you know, because we've had this conversation like before you were there and after you put that crown on your head.
It's hard.
What does this is your year mean?
I believe, and if I have to explain it, a lot of it is just, it's an internal thing. It's that there is no more work to do, that you've grown as much as you can grow, and that you are fully ready. In retrospect, looking back, if I had won last year, or say, last year, I would have given anything to just be first runner up so I could go to nationals. I would have just keeled over debt to be Mrs. American and gone to nationals as first runner up. Seriously, I would have done anything. And I kept saying, well, okay, I understand if it wasn't my year to win. Fine, I get that. I can see how I wasn't the winner there, but what about first runner up? I mean, it was a three-way tie. Why couldn't it have been me? I don't understand. Why am I not fit for that? You have these conversations. And in retrospect, I would not change it, because the growth that I did over that past year, this last year, I'm not the same person I was. And I wouldn't take it back. I would not trade me for her ever. The queen that I am meant to be, this title holder that I'm meant to be, I'm truly developed into that over this past year. The work that I had to put in past the point that I thought I had already done enough in here and in here is what made the difference. And I think hearing it's just not your year is frustrating, because you think, well, what is it that I have to do? And it's not necessarily that it's anything you have to do. It's something that you have to feel. And that feeling is that you're okay with who you are right now, no matter what, your story, your presentation of yourself, and whether the judges say yes or no, that's all fine and good. I think just coming to terms with yourself as a person and being okay with the outcome is the difference. And sometimes I think it's a hard pill to swallow, but sometimes it'll never be your year. There are certain events, pageants I could go to, and I'll never win them. You just have to be okay with it, and trust that God has a plan for you. And I feel that we all, if we're honest with ourselves, can dig down pretty deep and have an idea of what that path should be. If it's not your path, right? We've all done those things, or like, yeah, I kind of know that maybe this isn't the right thing for me, or
I think that it's really important that you shared that the biggest growth in your 3-year journey happened in the last 9 months.
Yes.
And for everybody that's listening, this is why we have these conversations, because these are the kind of conversations like Amy and I'll have these conversations just, with each other. And I'm like, no, more people need to hear this, more women, whether you're doing a pageant or not, quite honestly, it relates to life. It relates to like whatever it is that's your passion, that you're like pushing for, or something that you want. It's like, God really prepares you for that. And sometimes he's like, not quite yet, but sends you what you need to get there, sends you the people, sends you, the tools, sends you whatever. You just have to be very open and aware. And I feel like a lot of times we're not. We're like, we
Right.
don't see it. We don't really
Closed.
see it, or we see it, but we don't really want to do it because that's going to be hard. That's going to
Yes.
be way outside the comfort zone. And I
Yes.
know, for Amy, there's like what she says, the work. Like, yes, we work, we do fitness, yes, we practice, yes, but the work was in here, which
Yes.
was about in here, right? And that's something that I think when we think about preparation for a goal or a pageant, whatever our journey is, we can have a plan and a checklist.
Yes.
And it's just what I really wanted people to hear was that it's the personal development. It's becoming just tearing down the walls, letting the uglies out, getting comfortable with that, and then becoming, just showing up as you. That's it, is showing up as you. And then the judges see your heart. And then
Right.
the judges, like, they still may not choose you because they're looking for something
Specific thing.
very
Yeah.
specific. I've been in pageants that I didn't win, I didn't even place. But I felt like I was true to me, and I was like, they were not looking for me. They were looking for something different and I wouldn't want to change. We should never change who we are just to put a crown on our head, because we all already have crowns on our head.
Right. Exactly.
Sparkly.
Yes.
So this is important, because I know that your passion is your platform, which is part of your growth of getting super comfortable with Amy. So would you share that with us?
Sure. Well, my platform is called Above Your Circumstances. And the premise of that is early intervention for at-risk youth, and on a larger scale, just empowering people to embrace their own journeys and understand that we are not defined by our circumstances, but we can use our circumstances to help heal and grow ourselves and others and positively impact our communities. I am a child of an incarcerated parent. When I was 6, my father went to prison for life, and it completely just changed the entire trajectory of what my regular happy childhood should have been. It was going one direction, and then it just completely went another direction, and it changed the whole scope of my life. It touched every corner of my life. And at the beginning of this story, those were all negative things, but I had a lot of support. I had a lot of adults in my life who loved me so much and could see the bigger picture to help scaffold me to a life of success and stability despite all of these challenges. And so I want to offer that to the children who do not have those adults in their life, because my story was the exception, not the rule. And I believe everybody's story can be one of victory if they have the right tools and they have the right support. So that is my platform. And when I talk about the work, I'm talking about the fact that I am 35 years old, almost 35. And up until last year, I couldn't even talk about it without crying or shutting down. I would just clam up. Like, I would say my first year in pageantry, when they asked me about my platform, I took like the 5-mile road around my story, anything I could do to not say my dad went to prison for life and it was really hard. But now I can stand up on a stage and I can do that. And that required me recording myself saying it, looking in the mirror saying it, having big, ugly, tear down the wall cry sessions to just be able to be comfortable. And when I say comfortable with yourself, I mean with all of those parts of yourself that you wish weren't there. So do the work, do the emotional work, do the mental work, make sure that you know who you are and what value there is in who you are, because that value, even if it comes from a very ugly place, is just so incredible. There's so much power in our stories. True.
It's just true. It's so true. And another reason why I have this platform of Women Uniting Women, and virtual platform of these conversations in this podcast, because Amy, I can't tell your story. I have my own story, and you can't tell my story. And the person that needs to hear your story is in your path. And the person that needs to have my story, needs to hear my story, is in my path. And I believe that's why, you know, we're all very unique and different. That's why we can come together, we can compete together, you know, even for the same crown, but have an appreciation and a love for each other, and also to be able to support. I can support you and your platform, and you know, we can it's empowering women, it's uniting women. I should say men too, but we are women, mostly, that I feel like we have a story to tell that somebody needs to hear. And pageantry has given us this outlet and this place for our voice that might not get out to this scale in another way. And so that's our responsibility, that's our passion, that's our platform, that's our purpose. That's, you know, I know you and me do this for that. we get the benefit of getting to get dressed up and glammed up, which is also like girly and fun too. But for me, the best part about my pageant journey has been the service, the impact, the ability to get a purpose out, to help, to bring awareness, and then the community of amazing, lifelong. I would have never met you if it hadn't been for this. I wouldn't have met other friends that are in our circle that I now can't imagine not being in my circle. Even just one pageant experience has produced, you know, women that we would drive across the country for.
Absolutely. I would not change it. I wouldn't change it. If I could be offered, I got this one piece of hair doing crazy stuff. Sorry, guys. If I could be offered, I thought about this today, honestly. Someone could say, okay, you can go back a year ago and win your title sooner. You can redo it. I would not, because who I am right now and the people I know right now have made this journey just so incredible. It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be so good. And there truly is beauty that can come out of those, you know, disappointments. Truly, there is good things.
For sure. And there are disappointments that are like, leave you like crumpled up on the ground. Like, how did that go that way?
It happens.
But those of us that choose to learn from that, because there's always a lesson and there's always a choice. And for my journey, even through my platform of Women Uniting Women, which was born out of, you know, the night that my family experienced a house fire and I had to rescue us. And I could have succumbed to fear. But that's the moment that I discovered a strength that was greater than that burned inside me, that was greater than the fire around me. And also this passion to ignite that fire in other women. And it's a choice, right? It's a choice. It's a scary choice to get out of your comfort zone and to do something that you're not sure how to do. It's a scary choice to look inside at the uglies, and which we all have, by the way. But choose to get to a point where you, Amy, can stand up on a stage and talk about it and know that sharing that story is changing somebody else's life. And for that reason, I'll share my uglies too, or my fears, because it could change somebody's life. It's changed mine. I know it's changed yours, what you just said. I'm showing up here. This is just the beginning for you. Like, 3 years of a journey to get to this, but now, like, we're gonna have to do this again, because I need to hear, like, so what are your plans before we wrap up for as Mrs. Indiana? Well, you're going to Mrs. America.
Right. Mrs. America is in November, and in between now and then, it is my goal to speak twice a month in all different capacities, but definitely sharing my platform. And I've been so fortunate. What has it been, a week or two since I've been crowned?
This is your second week, yes.
Yeah, second week. I have been to several events where I've already been able to share my story and had people come up to me and say, I'm so glad that you spoke on this. I would have never have considered, or it makes me feel so much better to hear someone else is going through what I've gone through, or your story really gave me a great idea for this. And just being able to share my experiences with other people is already creating an impact, and I feel so validated through that. So I'm going to continue that as my goal and continue to work on my platform Above Your Circumstances with the goal of turning it into a nonprofit and raising more money for that to implement a mentorship program and prepare for Mrs. America, because I want to be your Mrs. America, Mrs. Indiana coming in hot.
Well, I can see that happening for sure. And so we will all be watching your journey and cheering you on. And as we just wrap up today, even though I could go on and on and on, but do you have a favorite verse or a quote? I always wrap up with something that, you know, is inspiring to you that maybe you want to share with everybody else.
Well, my favorite Bible verse is always everybody's favorite Bible verse. Like, God knows I have a plan for you, you know, plans to prosper you. But the quote that I have that I say to myself all the time is, grow through what you go through. And it's just a reminder to myself that whatever you're going through, there is a lesson in that you should grow and elevate through all of these experiences. Don't let it be wasted. Don't let any of your life experiences be wasted. There's a lesson in everything. And that if you're willing to learn that lesson, you can have the things you want and you can be the person that you were meant to be. So grow through what you go through is my favorite quote that I use to inspire myself when I'm feeling beat down or disappointed.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on, and to remind everybody to grow through what you go through, whether it's a 3-year pageant journey that finally comes to fruition. But anything you go through can be turned into an inspiration for others. It is definitely, if you have to look at it and see what is the opportunity here, what is the purpose, and how can I learn? So Amy, it's been such a pleasure to have you tonight. It's a blessing to have you in my life. And I can't imagine you not in my life. And I know there's so many people watching that feel the same way. And also more people that will be inspired by you as we watch your journey to Mrs. America.
Yes, I'm sure all of my friends are very happy that I finally won this title so that I can stop talking about it. After year after year after year, they're like, okay, can we just give it to her already? Because tired of seeing you post about it. So, but I'm so grateful and so blessed by all of you, everybody who supported me, and all the people that I've come to know. Laura, you're amazing, you're incredible, and I'm so grateful that you had me on this week.
Absolutely. So this is the end for this week with Amy Royster, and next week we will be back for another Conversations with Queens. We do it every week. It's my weekly podcast to be able to showcase real women with real lives, with real passion and purpose, dedicated to making a difference. So thank you, Amy. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.